Welcome to the world of science fiction. Don't forget to like and subscribe so you don't miss new stories. Enjoy the listening.
Jack stepped off the shuttle, his boots clanging lightly on the metallic floor of the orbital health facility. Around him, the hustle of various species going about their medical duties created a cacophony of foreign chatter. He straightened his uniform and glanced around, searching for directional signs. "Need some help?" a voice beside him asked. Jack turned to see a man, clearly another human, but with the insignia of the station's medical team on his jumpsuit. "Yeah, I'm here for a checkup." "First time on the Helios Medica," Jack replied, extending a hand. "I'm Jack. Dr. Aaron Mills." The man returned the handshake with a firm grip. "I can show you to the registration desk. Follow me." As they walked, Aaron chatted about the station. "We see a lot of traffic from the outer colonies here. It's a bit of a cultural melting pot, but you'll get the best care in the quadrant." Jack nodded. "That's what I've heard. I'm just here to get the all clear." They arrived at a sleek, circular desk where a Thalaxian nurse was seated. Her skin shimmered with a subtle iridescence, a stark contrast to the sterile, gray environment of the station. "Hello, I'm here for the health examination," Jack said, offering his ID card. The nurse, Lyra, took the card with a nod. "Welcome, Jack. I will be conducting your initial checkup. Please, follow me to the examination room." As they walked through the corridors, Lyra's presence was calm and composed. "It's your first visit with us?" she stated more than asked, her voice melodic yet punctuated with a curious accent. "Yes, it's part of the routine checks for my sector," Jack explained. "I'm stationed on a research vessel in the Oort Cloud." "Ah, remote work," Lyra nodded. "We receive many explorers. It is important to maintain health standards when far from typical medical facilities." They arrived in a small, but well-equipped room. Lyra gestured to the examination table. "Please, take a seat. The checkup should be quick unless we find anything unusual." Jack sat, watching as Lyra prepared her instruments. Her hands moved with precision, each tool picked with purpose. "So, what brings a Thalaxian to human space?" Jack asked, trying to sound casual. Lyra smiled slightly. "Opportunity and knowledge. Thalaxians value the exchange of ideas and practices. Working here allows me to learn much about other species." "That's interesting," Jack said. "Humans usually stick to what's familiar." Lyra began the exam, her scanner emitting a soft, blue light as it moved over Jack. Familiar can be comforting, but the unfamiliar can be enlightening. Jack chuckled. "I suppose that's why I signed up for deep space missions, to see the unseeable." "Curiosity is a shared trait among many who work in space," Lyra noted, her eyes scanning the data on her screen. As she continued her examination, Jack pulled out a small item from his pocket. "Speaking of unfamiliar, ever seen one of these?" He held up a small, shiny harmonica. Lyra paused, her interest piqued. "Is that a musical instrument?" "Yeah, it's called a harmonica. Want to see how it works?" Jack asked, a playful note in his voice. "Please," Lyra responded, genuine curiosity coloring her tone. Jack placed the harmonica to his lips and blew a soft, melancholic tune, the notes echoing slightly in the sterile room. Lyra listened intently, her expression one of fascinated delight. "That is quite beautiful. Music is universal, yet so diverse." Jack finished the piece with a flourish. "It helps pass the time in space." "Thank you for sharing this, Jack. It's rare to get such a personal glimpse during routine examinations," Lyra said, finishing up her work. "Well, I figured it's the least I could do after you've just gone through all my vital signs," Jack joked, hopping off the table as Lyra entered the last of the data. "Everything appears normal," Lyra announced. "You're cleared for duty. But I would recommend regular play on that instrument of yours. It seems to be good for the soul." Jack grinned, tucking the harmonica away. "Thanks, Lyra. Maybe I'll play you another tune next time." As Jack left the examination room, he felt a lightness in his step. Maybe this assignment would offer more than just the cold expanse of space, perhaps a chance for new friendships in uncharted territories. Jack walked into the communal dining hall of the Helios Medica station, still humming the tune he'd played for Lyra. The harmonica felt heavier in his pocket, now a symbol of an unexpected connection. He grabbed a tray and slid it along the metal counter, picking at the offerings of multi-species cuisine. Trying to make a decision, huh? A voice said from behind him. Jack turned to see a man with a broad grin holding a tray filled with a colorful assortment of alien fruits. Yeah, not sure what half of this stuff is, Jack admitted, eyeing a gelatinous purple blob cautiously. The man laughed, extending a hand. I'm Tom, by the way. I work in navigation. Jack, I'm with the research team, he replied, shaking Tom's hand. Why don't you join me? I've been here a while. I can give you the lowdown on the menu, Tom suggested, nodding towards an empty table. Sounds like a plan, Jack said, relieved. As they sat down, Tom pointed out the various dishes. That purple stuff? It's called Zalno. It's good if you like sweet and sour. But be careful, it's a bit lively. Jack raised an eyebrow, poking the blob with his fork, watching it quiver. Lively? Just a bit of a tingle on the tongue. Tom chuckled. Conversation flowed easily as they ate, with Tom sharing tales of his travels and Jack speaking of his encounters in deep space. After a while, Jack's morning examination came up. Had my first health check today. Thalaxian nurse, Lyra, handled it. Interesting experience, Jack mentioned casually. Thalaxians are good people. Very methodical and precise. You're in safe hands, Tom commented, finishing off his meal. Yeah, she seemed really competent. And she was curious about my harmonica, Jack added, tapping his pocket where the instrument lay. You play? You should join the informal music nights here. A bunch of us gather, bring whatever instruments we have, and just jam. Helps to keep things lively around here. That sounds like a lot of fun, Jack said, his interest piqued. When's the next one? Tonight. Actually, you should bring your harmonica, Tom suggested with a smile. Count me in. It'll be nice to play for an audience that doesn't consist of computer screens, Jack laughed. The rest of the day passed in a flurry of orientations and briefings, but Jack's thoughts often drifted to the evening's plans. As promised, he showed up at the designated rec room with his harmonica. The room was filled with various crew members holding instruments ranging from electronic keyboards to what appeared to be a stringed instrument from the Andromeda sector. Tom waved him over, introducing him to the group. Everyone, this is Jack. He's going to join us tonight. The welcome was warm, and the room buzzed with the excitement of shared musical passion. Jack felt a sense of camaraderie as he took out his harmonica, the familiar weight now a comforting presence in his hands. As the jam session started, the blend of different galactic musical styles created a unique symphony of sounds. Jack played his harmonica, the bluesy notes melding seamlessly with the alien rhythms. The music transcended language and species, speaking directly to the soul. After the session, as the participants chatted and laughed, sharing stories and planning future gatherings, Jack felt a genuine sense of belonging. This unexpected community of musicians on a medical space station far from Earth was as close to home as one could get in the vastness of space. As he left the rec room, his spirits lifted by the night's camaraderie, Jack realized that these impromptu music nights might just be the highlight of his assignment. This station, a crossroads of cultures and backgrounds, offered more than just a stopover. It was a place to connect, share, and perhaps build lasting friendships in the sprawling cosmos. Jack entered the medical bay a week after the music night, his harmonica in pocket, eager for his next encounter with Lyra. He had returned under the pretense of a follow-up, but was really hoping to continue their dialogue about music and culture. Lyra greeted him with a slight nod, her expression betraying a hint of anticipation. Jack, I was hoping you'd return. How have you felt since your last checkup? Feeling great, thanks, Jack replied, his eyes scanning the room for any sign of other patients. Seeing they were alone, he ventured further. Actually, I was hoping we could chat more. Maybe about music? Lyra's eyes brightened. I would like that. Your harmonica was quite fascinating. Jack grinned, pulling the instrument from his pocket. I brought it with me. Thought maybe you'd like to try it for yourself. Her slender fingers hesitated over the metal surface. I'm not sure I would know how. I can show you. It's all about the breath. Here, just breathe in and out through it, Jack explained, demonstrating a simple tune. Lyra mimicked his actions, a soft, slightly uncertain note emanating from the harmonica. She laughed, a musical sound in itself. This is harder than it looks. It just takes practice, Jack encouraged, delighted by her enthusiasm. Actually, I was thinking, there's a cultural exchange night coming up on the station. Maybe we could do something with this. Introduce others to human music, and you could share something from Thalaxian culture? I would be honored, Lyra said, her tone earnest. We Thalaxians have our own form of musical expression, though it's quite different. It involves color and light as much as sound. That sounds amazing, Jack replied, genuinely intrigued. Maybe you could show me? Of course. Let's arrange a time. And perhaps we could include others in this learning. Over the next few days, Jack and Lyra met frequently, their sessions a blend of music lesson and cultural dialogue. Jack introduced Lyra to different musical genres, each meeting bringing a different human instrument into the mix, while Lyra shared virtual simulations of Thalaxian performances where colors shifted in harmony with melodies. When the cultural exchange night arrived, the medical bay was transformed. Holographic projectors were set up to display Thalaxian performances, casting the room in vibrant hues. Jack had organized a small ensemble of musicians from the crew, each eager to showcase their own cultural heritage. The room filled quickly, the station's diverse population curious about the advertised blend of human and Thalaxian culture. Jack opened the event with a brief introduction. Thanks for joining us tonight. We have a unique program lined up, starting with some Earth music, followed by a special Thalaxian performance prepared by Nurse Lyra. Lyra, standing beside him, seemed more reserved than usual, perhaps due to the number of eyes on her. But as the music started, her confidence grew. Jack and his makeshift band played several pieces, ranging from blues to classical, each musician introducing their segment. Then it was Lyra's turn. She activated the holograms, and the room dimmed as swirling colors danced in sync with a haunting melody that seemed to come from everywhere at once. The crowd was mesmerized, the alien music touching something universal in all of them. After the performances, the floor opened for everyone to try their hand at the various instruments. Lyra's tentative attempts at the harmonica had now evolved into more confident, playful tunes. Similarly, several crew members attempted to mimic the Thalaxian soundlight patterns with varying degrees of success. As the night wound down, Jack found himself beside Lyra, watching their fellow crew members laugh and mingle. "This was a great idea, Jack," Lyra said, her voice filled with a rare warmth. "It's important, this sharing of culture. It helps us see that despite our differences, there's a lot we can enjoy together." "Yeah," Jack agreed, his gaze sweeping over the happy, chattering crowd. "It makes the galaxy seem a little smaller, a little more like home." Their eyes met, a mutual respect and understanding passing between them. Tonight was not just about music or performance. It was about connection, understanding, and the bridging of worlds through the universal language of art and expression. After the success of the cultural exchange night, Jack and Lyra found themselves increasingly sought after by both humans and aliens interested in learning more about each other's cultures. Their sessions became regular, evolving into a series of workshops that Jack had playfully dubbed the Universal Harmony Series. One afternoon, as they prepared for another workshop in the common room of the station, Jack turned to Lyra with a thoughtful expression. "You know, I've been thinking about how music isn't just about sound. It's about feeling, about conveying emotions and stories. What's your favorite Thalaxian piece?" Lyra paused, considering his question. "There's a piece called Velar, which translates loosely to the Dance of Light. It's performed at significant events, always live, because each performance is unique, influenced by the emotions of the musicians and the audience." "That sounds incredible," Jack mused. "Do you miss it? Being away from home, I mean." "Sometimes," Lyra admitted. "But sharing it with others, seeing their reactions, it helps. It's like bringing a piece of home here." Jack nodded, understanding the sentiment all too well. "Maybe we could try something new today," he suggested. "Let's blend our styles. I'll play some chords on my guitar, and you manipulate the light and color. Let's create a new piece, something that belongs to both our worlds." Lyra's eyes lit up with excitement. "I'd like that." As people began to filter into the room, Jack and Lyra started their improvised performance. Jack strummed a series of soft, melancholic chords, while Lyra's device cast waves of light that pulsed in rhythm with the music. The effect was mesmerizing, and soon the room was silent except for the sounds of Jack's guitar and the visual symphony of colors. After the session, Tom, who had become a regular at these gatherings, approached them, clapping Jack on the back. "You two are onto something special here. It's not just about the music or the lights. It's how you're bringing everyone together." "Yeah, it feels like we're building a community," Jack replied, watching as the attendees mingled, discussing the performance excitedly. "Speaking of community," Tom said, "there's a group of us who are planning a trip to the observation deck later. We're going to watch the comet passing by. You should come. Bring your guitar." Jack looked at Lyra, who nodded in agreement. "We'll be there." The evening found the group at the observation deck, the vastness of space stretching out before them, stars twinkling like distant fireflies. As the comet streaked across the sky, its tail glowing against the cosmic backdrop, Jack played his guitar softly, an impromptu piece that seemed to capture the awe and beauty of the moment. Lyra stood beside him, her device not projecting any lights now, her attention fully on the comet and the music. When Jack finished, he turned to her. "What do you think? Did the music match the view?" "It was perfect," Lyra replied. "It made the moment more profound." The group stayed on the deck long after the comet had passed, talking and sharing stories under the stars. It was during these hours that Jack realized how much he had come to value Lyra's presence and insight. The bond they were forming was based on mutual respect and a shared desire to bridge their cultural divides. As they finally decided to call it a night, Jack felt a sense of contentment. The station had become more than just a place of work. It was a place of connection and discovery. And as he walked Lyra back to her quarters, the two of them chatting quietly, he knew that these moments, these connections, were what truly made life in space worth living. The weeks following their impromptu concert on the observation deck brought an unexpected challenge. During a routine system maintenance, Jack began experiencing unexplained dizziness and blurred vision. Concerned, he decided to visit the medical bay, hoping it was nothing more than fatigue. As he entered the bay, he found Tom there, undergoing a standard check for an upcoming mission. "Hey, Jack, didn't expect to see you here," Tom said, looking up from his tablet. "Yeah, just feeling a bit off today," Jack replied, trying to sound nonchalant. "Should get that checked out, especially with all the weird bugs going around space stations," Tom advised with a half-smile. Jack nodded and approached Lyra, who was already looking his way, her expression shifting to concern. "Jack, what's wrong?" Lyra asked as she guided him to a diagnostic bed. "I've been feeling dizzy, and my vision's a bit off," Jack explained, lying down. "Thought it was just lack of sleep, but it hasn't gotten better." Lyra's expert hands moved over her console, initiating a series of scans. "Let's not take any chances," she said, her voice steady but filled with worry. As the scans progressed, Tom joined them, watching the readouts with interest. "Anything I can do to help?" "Just stay with us, Tom," Lyra answered, her attention focused on the data streaming onto her screen. The room fell silent, the only sound being the soft beeping of the machinery. Finally, Lyra's console beeped a long tone, signaling the end of the diagnostics. "What is it, Lyra? Anything serious?" Jack asked, trying to read the alien script on the monitors. Lyra paused, analyzing the results. "It's a reaction to a microbe you're not familiar with. It seems to be affecting your nervous system. It's treatable, but we need to start immediately." Tom's face hardened with concern. "Is it contagious?" "No, it's not something that would affect Thalaxians or most other species here. But for humans, it's problematic," Lyra explained, already preparing a series of injections. Tom stepped closer, putting a hand on Jack's shoulder. "You're gonna be fine, buddy. Lyra's the best." Jack managed a weak smile as Lyra administered the treatment. "I guess I'm in good hands." Over the next few hours, Tom stayed by Jack's side, making occasional jokes to lighten the mood, while Lyra monitored Jack's vitals meticulously. Gradually, the symptoms began to subside, much to everyone's relief. As Jack began to feel stronger, he looked at Lyra and Tom, grateful. "Thanks, Both of you. I owe you big time. Lyra shook her head, her eyes softening. You owe us nothing. It's our duty to take care of each other out here. Tom nodded in agreement. Besides, what are friends for if not to make sure you live to annoy them another day? Their laughter filled the medical bay, easing the tension of the past few hours. The incident had brought them closer, cementing a friendship that was built not just on shared interests, but on mutual care and concern. As Jack rested, recovering fully from the scare, he realized how vital their little community had become. They were more than just crewmates or friends. They were a family, bound by the vastness of space and their shared experiences. In the depths of space, they relied on each other not just for survival but for comfort and companionship. Jack was back on his feet, feeling healthier and more vibrant than before, thanks to Lyra's expert care. He returned to his daily routines, but found himself increasingly distracted, his thoughts often wandering back to Lyra. The crisis had revealed the depth of his affection for her, and he now recognized it as more than just friendship. One evening, as Jack was finishing up some data analysis in the lab, Tom dropped by, a knowing grin on his face. Hey man, you've been more spaced out than usual. Everything okay? Tom leaned against the doorframe, watching Jack pack up his equipment. Jack sighed, turning to face his friend. Yeah, I'm fine. Just been thinking a lot. About Lyra? Tom raised an eyebrow, his tone teasing yet gentle. Jack hesitated, then nodded. I don't know what to do, Tom. I think I've got feelings for her. And after everything that happened, I feel like I should say something. Tom walked over and clapped Jack on the shoulder. Life out here is too short for maybes, buddy. You should tell her. But what if it complicates things? We work together, and she's been nothing but professional, Jack countered, his anxiety clear. True, but you won't know unless you try. And I think she might feel the same way, Tom encouraged. Deciding to face his feelings head-on, Jack sought out Lyra the next day. He found her in the medical bay, reviewing data on a terminal. Taking a deep breath, he approached her. Lyra, can we talk for a minute? Jack's voice was steady, but his heart raced. Lyra looked up, her expression immediately softening. Of course, Jack. What's on your mind? They moved to a quiet corner of the bay, away from the hustle of the station's daily routines. Jack took a moment, gathering his thoughts, then looked directly into Lyra's eyes. Lyra, these past few weeks, especially after the incident, made me realize how important you are to me. More than just a friend or a colleague, Jack started, his voice slightly shaky. I'm not sure how you feel, but I needed to tell you that I care about you. A lot. Lyra's expression was unreadable for a moment, then a gentle smile spread across her face. Jack, I'm glad you said something. I've been feeling the same way. I wasn't sure if it was appropriate to discuss it, given our positions here. Relief and joy washed over Jack. Really? So, what do we do now? We take it slow, see where these feelings take us. But, Jack, whatever happens, I don't want it to affect our work or our friendship, Lyra replied, her tone serious yet warm. I wouldn't want that either. We can be careful, see how things go when we're off duty, Jack suggested, his smile growing with every word. Their conversation was interrupted by a call over the intercom, requesting Lyra's assistance. She stood up, her hand lingering on Jack's arm for a moment. We'll talk more later, okay? Looking forward to it, Jack said, watching her leave with a newfound lightness in his heart. Over the following days, Jack and Lyra found moments to spend together outside of their work duties. They shared meals, took long walks along the observation deck, and talked about everything from music to their dreams for the future. Their relationship blossomed subtly but deeply, grounded in the mutual respect and admiration they had for each other. It was a quiet romance, unspoken in the bustling corridors of the station, but palpable in their shared glances and soft conversations. Jack had never expected to find this kind of connection so far from home, but with Lyra, the vast expanse of space felt a little warmer, a little more like a place where he belonged. Jack and Lyra continued to nurture their growing bond, managing to balance their professional duties with the newfound emotions they shared. However, maintaining discretion became increasingly challenging as their affection deepened. Each stolen moment, Each secret meeting was a bittersweet reminder of the constraints imposed by station regulations against fraternizing between species. One late evening, after a particularly grueling shift, Jack found Tom in the common area, looking unusually pensive as he stared out at the stars. "Hey, Tom, you okay?" Jack approached, concern coloring his tone. Tom glanced back, forcing a smile. "Yeah, just a lot on my mind. How about you? How are things, with Lyra?" Jack sat beside him, sighing deeply. "It's complicated, man. We're trying to keep it under wraps, but it feels like we're walking a tightrope." Tom nodded, understandingly. "It's a tough spot. You two are good for each other, but the rules are the rules." "Yeah, and the last thing we want is to cause problems for anyone here, especially each other," Jack added, his gaze drifting to the void outside. "What if you didn't have to hide?" Tom suggested, turning to face Jack directly. "I mean, what if there was a way you could be together more openly?" Jack looked at him, intrigued. "What are you getting at?" "There are sectors in the outer colonies, less regulated, more accepting of diversity. You could consider transferring, both of you. Start fresh where the rules are different," Tom explained. Jack considered this. "It's a big step. I'm not sure Lyra would want to leave her position here, and I'm not even sure I want to, but it's worth discussing, right? If it means being together without looking over your shoulders all the time," Tom pressed. Resolved, Jack decided to bring up the idea with Lyra. They met in their usual secluded spot, a small alcove near the hydroponics garden. "Lyra, we need to talk about something important," Jack started, his voice serious. Lyra looked at him with concern. "What's wrong, Jack?" "It's about us. Tom suggested something today, and I think he might have a point," Jack explained. "He mentioned the outer colonies, how it's different there, more open. Maybe we could think about moving together." Lyra was silent for a moment, processing. "Leave the station? That's a significant change." "I know, and I wouldn't even consider it if it weren't for the situation we're in. But think about it, Lyra. We could be together, really together, without hiding," Jack said earnestly. Lyra took his hands in hers, a gesture filled with affection and uncertainty. "It's a beautiful thought, Jack, to be free to love without fear. But it's also a big risk. We'd be leaving everything we know, but we'd be gaining a life where we can be open about what we mean to each other. Isn't that worth something?" Jack pressed gently. Lyra nodded slowly. "It is. It's worth a lot, actually. I just need time to think about it. Can we do that? Take some time?" "Of course," Jack agreed, squeezing her hands. "We'll take all the time you need." The decision hung between them like the stars in the sky, distant but bright. In the weeks that followed, they continued their delicate dance of duties and stolen moments, each encounter tinged with the possibility of a different life, a life where their love could flourish openly and freely. As they pondered their future, Jack and Lyra grew closer, their connection deepening with the shared dream of a life together somewhere far from the regulations and restrictions of the Helios Medica. They knew that whatever decision they made, it would need to be a choice that both could embrace wholeheartedly. The weeks of uncertainty and secret discussions finally culminated in a decision. Jack and Lyra stood together in the observation deck, looking out at the expanse of stars that had silently witnessed the growth of their relationship from its tentative beginnings to the profound bond it had become. "I've made my decision," Lyra said quietly, her voice steady but filled with emotion as she turned to face Jack. And Jack held his breath, the weight of the moment pressing down on him. "I want to go with you to the outer colonies. If we're together, I can face any change," Lyra affirmed, her eyes reflecting both the resolve and love she felt. Jack let out a breath he hadn't realized he'd been holding, relief and joy flooding through him. "Really? You're sure?" "Yes, I'm sure. I've thought about it, and I realize that being with you, openly and honestly, is what I want most," she replied, her hand finding his. Just then, Tom approached, a knowing smile playing on his lips as he noticed their joined hands. "I take it you've made some decisions?" "We have," Jack said, grinning. "We're moving to the outer colonies. It's time for a new start." "That's great news." "I'm happy for you both," Tom replied, genuinely pleased. "If you need any help with the arrangements, just let me know." Thanks, Tom. We might take you up on that, Jack said, appreciating his friend's support. As the plans for their transfer began to take shape, Jack and Lyra spent their remaining days on the station preparing for the journey ahead. They informed their superiors, who, while surprised, were supportive of their decision to pursue opportunities better suited to their personal circumstances. On their last night aboard the Helios Medica, Jack and Lyra walked through the corridors of the station, their steps slow, each one echoing softly in the empty halls. They paused at the door to the medical bay, the site of their first meeting. It feels strange to be leaving, Lyra commented, looking around at the familiar settings now cast in the soft glow of the evening lights. It does, but it's also exciting. We're stepping into a future we chose together, Jack said, squeezing her hand. They continued to the common area where their friends had gathered for a farewell party. The room was filled with laughter and music, a testament to the community they had built here. Tom handed Jack a small, wrapped package. "What's this?" Jack asked, surprised. "Something to remind you of us," Tom said with a wink. "Go on. Open it." Jack unwrapped the package to find a miniature model of the Helios Medica, complete with a tiny light-up feature that mimicked the station's rotating lights. "This is amazing, thank you," Jack said, genuinely touched. "We'll miss you both, but we know you're off to bigger things. Just don't forget about us out here," Tom added, clapping Jack on the back. "We could never," Lyra said, her voice thick with emotion. The party lasted late into the night, filled with stories, music, and promises to keep in touch. When it was time to go, Jack and Lyra left the common area hand in hand, ready for the journey ahead. As they boarded the transport the next morning, their hearts were full of hope and anticipation. The outer colonies promised new challenges and opportunities, but more importantly, it offered them a chance to be together, free from the shadows of secrecy. Looking out the window as the station grew smaller behind them, Jack felt a profound sense of completion and excitement for the future. With Lyra by his side, he was ready to face whatever came next. The vastness of space, once a backdrop to his solitary existence, now felt like a canvas waiting to be painted with their shared adventures.